there. How are you doing, Mark?
Oh, just too groovy. Oh, the intro was delayed just then. So this is Dscourse Now. I'm Mark Small. Cassie Jackson is here tonight. Cassie, how's the world treating you?
Yikes. I mean, we live in Indiana, and so these people here are fucking nuts, particularly the white men in
Well,
government.
yeah. And I just want to say initially, I'm in Broad Ripple, which is the northern part of Marion County, which is Indianapolis. Cassie's in Hamilton County, which in the more urban part of um, Hamilton County is immediately north of Marion County, and that's the more urban part of Hamilton County. And I just want to make a statement initially before anybody has any doubts. I am not saying that Micah Beckwith is gay or latent.
I
I'm
am.
making no such claim.
I am. So,
Okay.
sorry,
You're
that's
saying
it.
I'm
Like,
making that
period,
claim?
period, full stop. I will make that if you're not comfortable. And listen, you know how much I love the LGBTQIA community. Me, myself, I'm attracted to women as well. Nonetheless, yeah, he's totally gay. Are you kidding me? Those pants are very, very tight. And he has a podcast with another pastor called Sex and Politics. I mean, they are absolutely doing stuff after the show.
Well, I just know Joe Jackson on Night and Day had a couple of songs about homosexuality on there, and he was stressing like the one line from Real Men is all the gays are macho. Can't you see their leather shine? Which means they're really not gay.
No.
They're really just kind of passing for that.
Mm-hmm.
Although why anybody at that point, that was 1979, I think, would willingly be part of a minority that was so abused and scorned.
Right. I always wondered that. I'm like, so, I mean, I know we'll get onto a different topic, but I want to ask people in Indiana who just like hate all these trans people, do you think that they were like, this will be fun. Let me wake up and have, biological parts that don't like, I don't feel that inside of me, stereotypically what culturally we're supposed to be as men and women. You know what? I'm just going to like play that role and just get really, really fucked in society by everyone because it's fun.
Well, I just never, a lot of the things I've always wondered about people's predilections and desires for, that's something that's innate. And so if someone's trans or someone's bi or someone is totally hetero, well, the totally hetero people would be totally in the minority. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's how people are wired and how their sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems work, and also the whole things that kind of gush out mushrooms.
See, we talk about psychedelics each episode, though.
Well, but it's really kind of mystifying. Although I tried to explain to somebody my sophomore year and undergrad, it's second year now, as we know, homosexuality wasn't developed until about 1962. And whoever it was didn't know really.
What? I mean,
I
always
transferred out of DePaul shortly after that.
I like to point to the animal kingdom and how like the male seahorses are the ones that are carrying the babies, and we have organisms that are asexual and can mate themselves. I mean, there's a whole lot out there, and we have like peanut brains. Particularly, we should think that all the people that believe in this God. I mean, we should really like, he's got the brains, we got the peanuts. Let's not pretend like we know better, including sexuality and gender, particularly when he's made animals to do the exact opposite of what we know to be typical.
Well, George Carlin said that men are stupid and women are crazy, and women are crazy because men are stupid.
Fair.
And yeah, I mean, I'm just, and as Janis Joplin said in an interview with Dick Cavett, she was explaining the lyrics of a song, and it was really kind of very pointed, and Cavett goes, I stand here or sit here to defend my entire sex, ladies and gentlemen. And Joplin goes, go right ahead.
Do it, man. Good for you. Try.
Yeah,
I mean, my favorite thing to say is women rule the world. So that's all.
Well, and this is another thing, because when people say, well, you're born alone and you die alone. No, you're not born alone. Unless you're developed in a petri dish, I think there's at least one other person there that's pretty important And so it's not like you're born. And if you're parts of that, if you're a twin, multiplies it out. And if you have a sensitive, caring other person who's going to parent you, and they're right there at the birthing moment,
right,
then you're not alone. And also,
I'll get off track.
Go
But
ahead,
I saw people making fun of, or like talking about how in non-masculine skin to skin was with a newborn, like a father taking his shirt off and putting the baby to his skin, which we know does not mean you don't have to be female or the mother. I mean, that's releasing tons of oxytocin in dad's brain, but also is bonding for the baby, blah, 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 on and on and on. And so, of course, I just like went back through all my pictures and got all of my pictures of Michael with his shirt on, just posted on this blog. Just like, sorry, my husband's so not a man. I just went crazy anyway.
Well, in terms of like there being studies, I don't have them right at my fingertip, but that point out that one of the factors that lends one of the lending factors for somebody developing into a sociopath is having close physical contact with their father.
Yeah, like actual. I mean, it does not have to be father, but yes, I hear you. Absolutely.
Because our society, the way it is, women are expected to have that contact. And I mean, when I was born, I think it was typical for males either to stay at home and watch TV or go out and get drunk with their buddies to celebrate they just had a kid.
I wish my motherfucking husband would try some shit like that while I was pushing out twins. I didn't push them out, I got cut, but still, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, my first experience coming into the world was getting slapped on the ass. And I think that's a confrontational, violent thing.
I got suction down my throat. Someone put something down my throat was my first experience.
Well, John Schmitz likes our video.
Yay,
thank you,
John.
We appreciate that. So we were watching stuff today, and you and I were commenting, and Cassie Jackson was on here. I'm Mark Sloan, still Dscourse Now. I had blogged today about Governor Holcomb sending 50 members of the National Guard down to the border in Texas, across the river from Mexico.
Yes, one break real quick. I'm going to be putting that blog on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, all of it in tomorrow or in a day, but it's a fire blog. You guys have got to check it out. Mark, like he nails it. He always does, but this one's like, yes.
Well, I mean, it struck me as odd that we would be sending people in uniform from this state to go anywhere. And a couple of problems with that. One is the federal government the central government has exclusive control of immigration policies and status of aliens here, and not the ones from outer space.
So is that like saying even if our guys go and would catch, and I'm seriously so ignorant to this, but like would get someone, they don't have the authority anyway because they're not federal agents?
Well, no, they're trying to say that it's a gray area and nothing's really certain about it. But as late as 2012, in Arizona versus United States, the Supreme Court said, no, there are some things that states kind of do to carry out what the federal authority is. But that's spelled out in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4 of the U.S. Constitution, that it's the feds. So when I'm listening this evening to a couple of things, and there are things charted out for if Trump would steal the election again, where they plan on having governors of red states send National Guard to blue states, where those blue states aren't
to do what to the blue states? Come on.
Yeah, and it's just okay. When have we ever had somebody elected president or assume that office that it said anything remotely like, I'm going to be a dictator?
No one. You know what else has not happened? None of our presidents have raped women. So that's another thing I'd like to add in there.
No, that might not be true. I mean,
I'm
going back to the 1800s, early 20th century. Those are different. I mean, that's never been okay. As far as I just don't think it's ever been okay. But in prior cultures, it was not looked upon. A woman belonged to a man,
Sure.
and I mean, even when slavery was ended with the 13th Amendment, which was ratified, by the way, by Mississippi, I think in 1991, women had fewer rights. White women and black women both had fewer rights than men who'd been slaves and had just been emancipated. So it's like they could, once they were considered free, they could sign contracts, serve on juries, all this stuff that women still weren't able to do well into the 20th century.
Well, speaking of slavery and rape, that's how listen, my kids are biracial. I mean, Michael's very light skinned, but he's definitely full black. And the only reason that that's the case genetically is because someone raped someone in his family who was white when they were a part of slavery in the United States, in the Carolinas.
Each of us has mitochondrial DNA that indicates we had a female ancestor in East Africa.
Yeah.
So I like that, because even people wearing robes and hoods.
Right, I know. It's like, dude, you just moved to a colder climate. Calm the fuck down, okay? That's all that happened with your melatonin, bro. Anyway.
Yeah, but when you go then to looking at, and it was Shirley Chisholm who was the first woman to run for president of the United States. I think she ran in 1972. And she said that she was subjected to more hostility and more discrimination as a woman than she was as an African American.
I don't know how she would quite tangle that out, but that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things and even now, women are being shoved to the side because of the Dobson decision. And I think that's where things are breaking down for this iteration of the GOP. By the way, I just want to point out that the grand old party, the Republican Party, as it's functioning today, one, has no justifiable claim to being the party of Lincoln, and two, to the extent that it backs Trump, who took the office of president illegally.
Yes, he did.
It's more a RICO, a racketeer influence corrupt organization, than it is a political party.
Yeah.
You're up there in Hamilton County.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, what does that mean, do you think, Mark, for women? If I mean, we're going far, but if you're sending troops into blue states eventually, and women don't notoriously go to the range, ultimately we are fine.
Yeah, and I don't think the Republican Party took that into consideration tactically and strategically, not in terms of moral presence,
right,
in order not to lose votes and lose states. Now, I would point out that this evening, I think in about 45 minutes, the first returns will come out from the congressional district in New York that George, the guy that always lied about what he did in all of his life until he swore in to be a member of Congress, and that could easily go blue. Does that mean, in terms of numbers of the House, that's pretty damn close to the Democratic Party having a majority in the House of Representatives, which would be both chambers.
That's exciting.
In Hamilton County for years and years was counted on as being Republican. There's no way a Democrat could get elected there.
Well, my gosh, can I just shout out Miles Nelson? Miles,
go for it.
10 seconds. Miles Nelson was the candidate for Democratic mayor in Carmel. He did not win, but the margins that we saw with him and all of the candidates really, and in Hamilton County, but I just want to focus on Carmel. it has changed the game for Carmel. I'll just say Carmel. We can Hamilton. It has changed the game, and I just want to thank him. And I know 4 years ago we were even saying we wouldn't even be able to talk like this about margins. And the fact that he has done this, even though he lost, I'm eternally grateful to him. And anyway, I'm done. Go on.
No, that's okay, because I was going to say that Hamilton County was always completely and totally Republican, but there's another aspect to party affiliation, and that is a couple of things. One is the higher the level of education of an individual, the more likely that individual is to being progressive in politics, and probably would vote Democratic.
You know why? Because they want to actually take care of people, because they learn in higher education that that's ultimately going to sustain society. So anyway, go on.
No, and Mike Royka, who is a columnist in the Chicago Trib, he was the Sun-Times and News to the Trib, always said that the reason that right-wing people, conservatives, are as cold as they are is that it's easier to form a fist and hit somebody than to reach out a helping hand. That's
exactly right. And also fear works wonders. So when you are telling people they'll be damned and condemned as children if they go outside of something, you know, that's very, very scary.
Well, and just want to point out one thing. I want to repeat. I've never said that Micah Beckwith either is gay or closeted.
But I would like to point out once more, and I hate to interrupt, that I do say that.
Well, and you're entitled to your opinion.
Thank you, Mark.
This is Civil Discourse Now. There were several things that happened today in Trump cases, in that new election, or the congressional seat that's kind of up in the air.
Tell me about it.
But also, they're trying to re-impeach the head of Department of, well, it's okay, DHS. No, it's Homeland Security. I'm getting mixed up on the departments of the bureaucracy, and that might indicate that I have some things in common with President Biden. In other words, yeah, I'm human, make mistakes on pronunciation and everything, but I don't forget the name of my wife or my kids, or whether we're in World War II. So
yeah, well, and also the date of my son's death from cancer, bless his whole heart. I swear, Trump, he is, I mean, if there is a hell, isn't there a whole little coffin space for that motherfucker right waiting?
Well, and yes, but it's also that, I don't know what the weird thing is, but people who would never be invited to sit at that same table as him are the ones who kind of have this illusion, even if they're making barely more than what they need to survive, that they would never be invited to
no, and that's in fact exactly right. And like, let's look at like a fact about that. A lot, and I'm not saying all of the insurrectionists or the people there were like the demographic you just described. Nonetheless, they were all there for Trump, and they were getting charges, and he didn't do shit. Like, he's done nothing to help. I mean, also the other thing I wanted to note on that, when we were talking about like progressives having more being educated more, I don't know how I'm like to say it better, than the Republicans. It's really, you have educated people on one side, and then there's a Republican base that is also educated, and then there are these extreme people that are open to like this being manipulated by cults. And that's really scary, because really smart people are very articulate and can say a lot of things and do a lot of things, Mark, like you, for example. But what they cannot do, if they're not willing to ultimately harm people, is make a cult. You know, and we cannot, how do you fight against the cult mentality? I'm going to tell you, as a mental health professional, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to.
Another thing, an aspect of what's happened in the last few days from talking to people, and it reflects something that happened my senior year of high school. They didn't call it AP then, but we were in like
That's what they
honors.
call it. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's what it was back then. And our teacher one day said, what's the most indisputable fact in history? And nobody was raising their hand. And so I did. She
I
raised it.
know.
And I said, Lincoln is dead.
I said everyone will die. That's what I was going to say. Okay.
Well, but actually, that's not necessarily true. But because we only know that people, no person that's existed in history that we can, keep track of, lived beyond 160 or whatever it is. But it's like, so I said that, and then she basically started reciting the Nicosean, or one of the groups of Christianity, the creed, and it's like Jesus Christ, our personal Savior, born, blah, blah, blah. And so I went up to her after class. I said, you can't do that.
Yeah.
This is a public school. You can't teach. And we were studying the Bible as literature.
Well, like that's different. Oh, she went on like a preaching mission after doing the Bible. That's very different than biblical literature, which I did take. Anyway, go on.
Well, it was just, it was one of those things where that was a given. I mean, I was born and raised in Howard County, and it was predominantly in my high school. People would be called evangelicals today. They were called born agains, various things that they're called, but they're by far in a minority in the United States.
Okay, I found
that comes back with Beckwith, because Micah Beckwith is a preacher in Hamilton County.
At Life Church, there's Life Church, 4 locations: Fishers, Eagle Creek, Pendleton, and Noblesville. You should avoid those churches. They're Christian nationalist churches. I speak to that being an activist against Micah Beckwith, and also someone with their children who has been in the Fishers location church. So I actually am not just speaking in that just because I think Micah is the devil's pastor. So
see, I just think that I've never said that he's homosexual, bisexual, trans, or in the closet.
Listen, the tight jeans, he's something about that like really appeals to him. Also, we need to just maybe jot this down. He goes on and on about the respect of the flag. Okay. And I have so many examples. One being the fact that he has American flag shoes that are just totally against. Anyway, I think it's hilarious. Listen, he's gay. That's what we're really getting at.
Well, he made a big point a couple of years ago, tracking me down on Twitter. But he made a big deal.
Until I realized that you were so smart, and then he was like, oh, fuck.
Well, but what he says is, don't listen to university professors or post-secondary education in the context of constitutional law is what he said.
He took an online course to be a pastor and constitutional stuff.
Oh, I took one of those courses at Hillsdale College. And they don't really teach the truth, but he was saying he only would rely upon primary sources. Primary sources in terms of constitutional history consist of the founding documents, Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, the resolution that Congress passed to allow constitutional convention, the Federalist Papers, the Constitution itself, and the Bill of Rights, and also the ratification conventions. And so I've been going through all this for years, and I've been pointing out Beckwith is not accurate. This is not a Christian country.
Well, this is the thing we need to. This is like all Beckwith is regurgitating. What I think we should note here is a bigger. It's a bigger agenda. We can go with. He is literally, and I can speak to this because I've done research on his childhood. He has been indoctrinated. It is so sick. His mother is sick.
Okay, we won't go into descriptions of people. Somebody who's
let me pause for a second so you can all see my face.
No, don't talk about somebody who's not themselves a political figure.
No, this is the mother. This is the mother. I'm so serious of Micah Beckwith.
Okay, I don't want to go there.
Civil War.
Well,
and this is who he's listening to. This is who it is. This and someone that he's a puppet. He has no original thought at all. So when we say Micah, I would just make sure that everyone is also thinking Trump in his party, because Micah will listen to anything. You could tell Micah the sky is fucking purple, and he will tell you that in his tweets, in his messages.
Well, and I would also point out that Beckwith had a conversation with God on January 7th, 2021. And so from that, we can surmise either he was hallucinating, it never occurred, he was kind of pulling one over on people to advance himself. Nobody ever did that in history. Or God is gay. And or at least bisexual, trans, encompassing all of that.
All of it. He is pansexual. God is pansexual, and that's where we're left with it. And guess what? This is exciting news, because Micah is also teaching everyone how to hear the voice of God and all about his pansexualism. You want to talk about that?
Sure. And I think that that one seminar he was having in January, I guess, Learn How to Talk to God.
Prophecy seminar. Prophecy. Just learn it. Learn it in 2 days.
Yes, but it also boils down to my analogy would be God is a child. I mean, the Old Testament God and the one of the evangelicals today is like a child in a sandbox playing with all these toys, and those are people. And you either like me or I'm going to throw you out of the sandbox. I mean, it's one of those, okay, God's kind of got a bad self-image. And I can understand that. The other theory I have on that is, the other theory I have on that is actually there was a war in heaven, but actually the forces of evil prevailed. And if you look at like the Calvinistic God that is advanced by the far right and compare it with things we've read about the devil and Satan and everything, actually they're really kind of cool things about that aspect of that religion, whereas God, in the way that the evangelicals look at God, he's kind of uptight.
Yeah, no, he really hates almost everyone.
And I just think that that's not healthy.
I don't either. Did you see also that they like to, I posted today, they call the congregation the bride of Christ, which I find very weird. They also like to talk about how being on your knees is the best position for success. Literally, why are you talking about the congregation being the bride of Christ? Like, that is envisioning yourself doing what with God? Hello, why are we talking about brides and husbands? And okay, is no one else? Also lots of touching, which someone noted, one of the Find Out noted it's because it's a cult. So much touching. Why is there so much touching?
Well, one could say it's because he's trying to transfer the energy of the Lord into the person he touches. And I'm not going to go there on that because I don't want to break down laughing here on the camera. and that's kind of like, just one of those things. I have friends who are very devout Christians who aren't that way. Exactly. And are very open-minded and allow people, in their view, to have freedom of religion. But the last thing I want to say, and we're almost out of time, one of the things that people can look to for the history of the Constitution and how to construe it, the most telling is the North Carolina convention actually, are the two that they had. Because they were the only state to vote they refused to ratify the Constitution. Then everybody else ratified. And so they jumped in and said, okay, we'll do it too. The debates at that first North Carolina convention, if God was dictating all of this in the spirit of it, you would have expected people at that first convention to argue that it, because they thought God was not sufficiently in the Constitution, they voted down. Nobody argued, yes, it is. And so that, I think,
great point. That how has no one come to this fucking point before?
Okay, we're coming to the end. This is Civil Discourse Now is a half hour. Time flies when you're having fun.
Can I have 2 shout outs, please, or no? Really quick, no?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's right. And following this show, go for it,
Nope.
Jesse.
Not even about my show. I just have 3 women shout outs really quickly. Is that okay, Mark?
You absolutely can do that.
Thank you. First woman shout out, Taylor Swift. That a girl. Congrats on your first Super Bowl, sweetheart. Woo! So proud
She's
of
great.
you. Taylor's a party to find out. Also, shout out Hillary Clinton. Girl, we'll be talking about you a lot, but you got that shit stolen from you, and that's not okay.
That's true.
And number 3, it's going to be a race for Attorney General because Rokita is all the way out, and Mario, I'm about to just get ready for that. So Destiny Wells, that's my girl.
Yeah, Destiny Wells is a cool person.
I know. I found out she was go ahead.
No, and she's a good lawyer, and I think that she would do a damn good job in the office of Attorney General, because it's not going to take that much time to kind of purge from the fabric of the office of the Attorney General the crap with which Rokita infused it. But
did you know that the past 2 attorney generals for Indiana have been suspended or like reprimanded?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, Destiny girl, not going to happen to you, obviously, but also found out that she was a cheerleader in high school. So, I mean, can you imagine, like, this is my dream to do stunting with her, and then I'll leave it at that.
Well, we're at the end of the show. Cassie Jackson, thank you for being here. And I would just, Civil Discourse Now will be back 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. And in parting comment, I'll just say, as I began the show, I'm not saying that Micah Beckwith is gay. Cassie, been marvelous. You have a good evening and have fun on the show.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Sorry, I was talking a little bit tonight, bit much tonight, but I appreciate you. And Micah's gay. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Mark?